Speech therapy and dementia. What's the SLP's role? One of the biggest struggles I encountered as a new medical SLP working with adults was knowing how to best serve individuals with dementia. I'd get a consult to evaluate and treat either cognition or swallowing for someone with Alzheimer's, and I felt stuck. What was my role? Which assessments do I use, especially when most insurance companies require standardized assessments? Stick around to learn what your roles are as an SLP and several assessment tools to be aware of. Let's dive in. I'm Theresa Richard. I've been a medical speech pathologist for 15 years. I'm a board-certified specialist in swallowing and swallowing disorders. I'm the founder and CEO of the MedSLP Collective and MedSLP Education. First and foremost, any evaluation should assess the whole person, built on strengths and support functional goals. What does assessing the whole person look like? It means that, of course, we might treat the symptoms, but it's so important to consider the root cause and underlying influences that contribute to those symptoms. It's so critical to consider the psychological, physiological, cultural, spiritual, social, and emotional services required to improve the patient's well-beings and outcomes while respecting their decisions. Ultimately, treat the patient as you would want to be treated, like a person. What strengths could you build on? Is the patient still extremely passionate about cooking or gardening? Maybe they love to play board games or they're a whiz at poker. Getting to know the person and interacting with the family will allow you to establish a better rapport and build a foundation for that patient's strengths on which you can build a person-centered treatment plan. What does it mean for a goal to be functional? This does not mean pick up a workbook and have them fill in the blanks on identifying animals. Unless they were a zookeeper and this was an important part of their life, it's completely meaningless and has no role in our therapy, nor does it help the patient. Now, if it's important for the patient to remember their grandchildren's names and sports they like to play, now we're getting somewhere. We can help create or show them how to use various external memory aids. Whether they know how to look at pictures on their phone or create a memory book, there's tons of ideas for the actual aid, but just discovering what is functional and important to them at this moment in time is critical. Not every person with dementia needs or will benefit from therapy. If it won't improve their quality of life or their caregiver's quality of life, then our intervention is likely unnecessary. It is so important to decide if the patient even wants therapy to improve. And if they don't, you are wasting both of your time and healthcare dollars. On the flip side, many people think that there is no hope or help for patients with dementia. And part of our therapy might be educating them that there are in fact a lot of strategies that we can use. Earlier in my career, I was so shocked at how very little people knew about their own conditions and what can be improved. I didn't realize that so much of what we do is educating patients and their families about what we can offer and how we can help. I had one patient that I saw many years ago. She was living in an assisted living facility. She seemed to just be very sad and lonely. It didn't really seem to want my help or anybody else's help. I explained why I was there and she kept saying, "I have dementia, there's no hope. I have dementia, there's just no hope for me." And it just crushed me to hear her say that. I spoke with her daughter, who again reiterated the same thing and just said, "We were told mom has dementia. There's nothing we can do about it, but just love her from here on out." And I just felt so bad for that family. I said, "Of course you will love her from here on out, but there actually is a lot we can do for her. We can't bring her memory back, but we can work on some tasks to help with her memory and preserve things that are really important to her." Daughter was fully on board, and together we made a list of all the things that her mother loved and was important to her. One of those things was knitting. I told the patient that I tried knitting a few scarves in college, but it didn't go very well, and I asked her if she could help me. So she lit up and she got so excited. She pulled out her knitting needles to show me everything I needed to know. And what happened during this is that it brought back a flood of memories of people she knitted scarves and sweaters for. We were able to use some of those names and concepts and put in some memory aids in place that were triggered by her knitting. Her daughter was ecstatic, and so was she, that she didn't have to feel completely helpless. Now, when working with someone with dementia, it's important to also work with their caregivers, and there are tools for that. Interview the caregiver to get a better understanding of the whole person, challenges in their home environment, likes, dislikes, goals, etc. Really take your time doing this and get really detailed in your questions. Is your patient able to take their medication? Are they able to pour themselves their favorite juice in the morning? Get really granular and don't be afraid to take a few sessions to gather this information. You may even want to use some questionnaires. Examples of caregiver questionnaires include the Caregiver Wellbeing and Support, Impact of Alzheimer's Disease on Caregiver Questionnaire, and the Caregiver Strain Instrument. These tools can be effective to getting the caregiver some extra support, but I will caution you about how you approach these types of questionnaires. Be sure to ask first if they would like to fill one of these out, if they're emotionally available to address this. I know so many times with my son, I'm just running on adrenaline and fumes, and if I have to stop and think about how I'm actually feeling on that day, it will come to an ugly screeching halt. So I don't want you to ignore these conversations. They're most certainly important and valuable. Just don't force them. I know I've had a few conversations and I've gone back to the therapist after when I was good and ready to address it. It can make for a much more productive conversation. Connect the caregiver with resources, support systems, and strategies. Whether it's memory, communication, or eating, it's our role to educate the caregivers on the strategies and compensatory strategies that offer the most support. I also will caution against just telling them to join a support group. See if you can identify some first and foremost. Get the scoop from other members how they are. Especially now after COVID, many groups are meeting virtually, which can be so wonderful for people in different geographic regions. I'll be posting other videos just like this one that you won't want to miss, so make sure to hit that like and subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. Do you have any specific questions about speech therapy and dementia? Leave a comment below and tell me about it. We'll be sure to get your comments answered ASAP. Point number 3, swap your rehabilitative mindset for a maintenance mindset. Medicare reimburses for skilled maintenance therapy. Now, what does that mean? Instead of rehabilitating or restoring functions, our role in this case is to maintain that person's current skills, and to the extent that it's possible, prevent further deterioration of skills. What makes a maintenance therapy program skilled, though? According to Medicare, maintenance programs are skilled when only a qualified provider can safely perform or supervise that program. Basically, the program can't be so simple and intuitive that anyone can do it without professional training. Skilled maintenance services must be directly related to the treatment plan based on the formal assessment provided by the licensed SLP. Non-skilled services include non-therapeutic, routine, or repetitive tasks that caregivers can carry out, such as word drills or verbal cues without skilled feedback. Non-skilled services include non-therapeutic, routine, or repetitive tasks that caregivers can carry out, such as providing verbal cues without skilled feedback. Think of our restorative walking or restorative dining programs. These are programs where we train the CNAs to carry out the repetitive tasks that we've come up with. For communication goals, an example of skilled maintenance therapy would be the facilitation of an AAC device or communication system. I recently had a colleague set up a really low-tech communication board for a woman with suspected primary progressive aphasia and dementia. She never attempted to verbalize, but she would occasionally point to pictures. The picture she pointed to most often was orange juice. Her husband told us that she used to drink orange juice with her breakfast every morning. It was her routine. We relayed this information to the kitchen staff, and they made sure to provide a glass of orange juice with every breakfast. And this led to increased fluid intake and fewer episodes of frustration. I've got a free gift for you at medslpcollective.com/dementia. Grab your free editorial-reviewed resource that lists out screeners and assessments SLPs can use when working with dementia. This includes cognitive communication screeners and assessments, language assessments, functional communication assessments, depression screeners, and more. This tool is a great place to start when you need a quick reference list of functional assessments to better serve individuals with dementia. Again, head over to medslpcollective.com/dementia to grab your copy. You can find this link in the description below.